Is your heart beating like mine?
Thank you, the emergency response team. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Isaac Chimbugwe from the Uganda Red Cross Society. I work for the Commercial First Aid and Ambulance Service Unit. What we've demonstrated here in the simulation is a situation of a cardiac arrest. I think everybody spotted our patient having a cardiac arrest from nowhere in the sitting. He developed it, meaning it can be sudden. Why we chose this kind of emergency is the setup we are in organizations, in companies. These are some of the main emergencies that we can encounter when we are there. But we should go away from here with at least some skills and knowledge on how and what can we do in case there is a cardiac arrest. First of all, what is a cardiac arrest? A cardiac arrest is one of the most common cardiovascular diseases or cardiovascular accidents where a person's heart will stop beating, and this will lead to no supply of blood to the brain, other vital organs, and the parts of the body. Some of the causes of a cardiac arrest could be congenital heart diseases, coronary artery diseases, heart problems at birth. Some people get heart problems at birth, okay, and many others. Some of the triggers of a cardiac arrest could be the poor eating habits, not exercising, sedentary lifestyle, and very many others. Now, what do we do in case one of us gets a cardiac arrest? Here with us we have a patient, a casualty who has sustained a cardiac arrest. The first thing our colleagues did there was to check and confirm the scene is safe, so as they don't become the next casualties. They have to make sure that they are safe, there is no any danger. After they have to assess the casualty, check if the casualty is responsive. They call them, hello, hello, are you right? Can you hear me? So the person will not respond or cannot respond. They'll go ahead and assess if the person is breathing by opening the airway and checking for breathing to see if the chest can rise and fall. They as well check the pulse and see whether their heart is beating. Once they found out that the heart is not beating and there is no breathing, he will ask his assistant to call an ambulance. So he calls the call center of the Red Cross. We have a very functional call center where we receive all calls that need an ambulance. And then they will start CPR immediately. CPR is 30 chest compressions, just like this gentleman is doing. 30 chest compressions and 2 rescue breaths. Okay? The 30 chest compressions and the 2 rescue breaths, that will be a cycle of CPR, and this will help to send blood to the brain, as he was doing. After you do the 30, you have to give the 2 rescue breaths. Okay. After you resume, remember you called the ambulance team. It's on their way. As they come, you're going to perform this until they arrive. At this moment, you are the person helping this casualty to get blood to the brain. If you stop it, their brain will not be getting any blood. So please continue pressing like how this gentleman is pressing into the chest, just between the person's breasts. There is a hard bone called the... Until the ambulance team arrives. Okay? When the ambulance team arrives, just like the gentleman did, you hand over to the ambulance team. What we know, or what we all confirm, is this can be you, it can be me, it can be any relative, a spouse, a workmate, or anybody. But the question is, do we know what to do in case it happens? The Red Cross can offer trainings of this nature, and you can become a very good certified first aider. The Red Cross is international, and we deliver international certificates. Be a lifesaver, and we can save lives together with the Uganda Red Cross. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you.
Now, if this has not sent the fear of God in you, I don't know what would.
I
But
feel
what's
like
for
my heart
sure,
is still beating.
what I noticed is we had a situation in this room, and nobody panicked. Like, to you, nothing.
Thank you. Everyone was just like,
And
oh.
it's not to blame you.
Oh.
Please relax. We know that you know that the Red Cross is here. That's what happens in real life when you are sure that you've got a shoulder on which to lean should disaster strike. But question is, and that's why we're here this morning, is the Red Cross going to be able to do that for you if they are not resourced? So we are here to ensure that Red Cross is resourced so that in the event of disaster, not unto you, God forbid, you can sit back, relax, and know that the Red Cross got this.
They got this, but I'm not going to be as nice as you, Simon. I'm actually going to push a bit. Do you know what to do? Because I think it's very important. Everyone was like, oh, okay. Someone else is going to deal with it. But first aid training is so important because we tend to think about calling and relying on the Red Cross. But in some situations, this could happen while you're at the workplace. This could happen while you're in your own home, when you've gone to visit someone. And one of the worst things is no one knows what to do because time is crucial. Quick interventions are important. So some things like having basic first aid training is incredibly important because I tell you what, Simon, I have 3 kids, I mentioned. 2 of them have choked on chicken bones, no less. They still love chicken despite this happening many years ago. But I got first aid training many years before. One happened at the first one, the oldest child, it was her birthday party. And then suddenly there was an issue. And I was able to use the Heimlich maneuver, which is something I learned way before. So I always say these children of mine, they like food like their mother. 2 of them have had to save them. But I've also been able to help someone else at another setting, at a wedding where a guest was choking. And it kicked in. And that was from some basic first aid training. So it's something we all need.
That should not scare you from enjoying your breakfast. Please enjoy ravenously. But most importantly, I also hope you realize that all the interventions were done, but none of them involved cutting a chicken, shaking calabashes, and doing all the things that you like to do when you see someone collapsing. You African brothers and sisters of mine. It's scientific, not the other science. But that said, we still are in the mood to scare you into giving. So right now, we'll invite you to look at your screen, and we are asking you one question. For 3 minutes, what if? Let's look at the screens.
What if you are among the 13 lives lost daily to road traffic crashes in Uganda? What if your wife cannot access blood during childbirth? What if your home got submerged by floods? What if another deadly pandemic ravaged Uganda and killed millions? What if you couldn't open your business today because all the customers have been swept by a mudslide? What if your daughter dropped out of school because she lacked pads? Are you prepared for such eventualities? Humanitarian crises are on the rise globally and nationally. In Uganda, a cross-section of eventualities remain a threat to humankind, animals, and environment. From road traffic crashes to mudslides, floods, pandemics and epidemics, blood shortage, garbage slides, landslides, and so much more. These have created human suffering, left the business community counting losses, the economy left in depression, and the nation stuck with no hope for recovery. Mandated through our auxiliary role to government of Uganda, Uganda Red Cross Society has served humanity needs you. Donate towards the Uganda Red Cross Humanitarian Response Fund and save more lives through the 8 focus areas: first aid and ambulance services, blood donor recruitment and mobilization, disaster preparedness and response, pandemics and epidemics response, youth and women empowerment, climate action and sustainability, water sanitation and hygiene. Keep a girl in school. You can also make Uganda Red Cross your humanitarian partner to support your business continuity through preparedness, anticipatory action, and avert risks. Donate to saving lives through the proceeding resilient communities and protecting human dignity.
Thank you very much. I hope now that sets the stage even more firmly than we thought earlier it would. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've done enough of the preambling. Let's now get down to serious business. But should you, during the course of the next few minutes, require the emergency services of the Uganda Red Cross, don't put up your hand. Just dial this number off your phone. It's toll free. 0800 122 088. I repeat, 0800 122 088. Third and final time, 0800 122 088. You can only switch around the double digits, but not any other. That said, allow me, with a lot of humility, invite the Secretary General of the Uganda Red Cross Society, Mr. Robert Kwesiga, to step forward and make to us that grand submission regarding the humanitarian landscape in Uganda, but from the lens and perspective of the Uganda Red Cross Society. He says he won't start unless we clap for him.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Kasiate. The Honorable Minister, Engineer Hilary Ronek, our partner in the business we do on a daily basis, Your Excellencies, who have honored our invitation, are here with us this morning. Our key invited guests from the private sector and the corporate world, thank you for honoring our invitation. The officials from the various government ministries we work with, our development partners who are present, the Red Cross fraternity, we have the presence of the ICRC, Deputy Head of Africa Region, Deputy Head of IFRC, Africa Region, and all the partners of the Red Cross fraternity. We're a big family. The Red Cross board members, starting from the patron, the board, the ambassadors, the Integrity Commission, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the Red Cross. My presentation more or less has been done by this last slide. That's the video I've just watched. But allow me to thank you for honoring our invitation. December is a busy month, especially early morning and on a working day like today. So I know some people may not be with us all through or may come a bit late, but all the same, we thank you for being here with us. Also, I recognize the members of parliament here with us. I recognize you. 60 years of the Red Cross work has been defined by trying to do more and do better. And as you may know, the humanitarian crisis all over the world and in Uganda, they're on the increase. And we can't pretend that it is going to get better. If anything, it is going to get more complicated. And we can outline what causes these emergencies, whether it is climate, whether it is pandemics, whether it is a blood shortage in this country. We have our partners here, they can expand more on it. Road crashes, refugees, starvation, I can go on and on. But allow me just to mention the statistics of this year alone, because you could have gone backwards and the statistics even are very worrying. But this year alone, which us or some of us we think has been a very peaceful year. So far, this is December, we have responded to 18 major disasters together with government and all the other actors. Major, so that means the minor ones we are not referring to them. So, Ntoroko, in western Uganda, Chitezi, 34 lives lost. Baramburi ongoing, 20 lives so far lost, and we are still counting. Even lightning, killing people, that happened in the West Nile. Every day, 13 lives are lost on road crashes. Pandemics and epidemics, they are on the increase. They are destroying lives, but they are also destroying livelihoods. And so, as Red Cross, we are saying we can't do business as usual. We have to change the way we engage. And that's why this event is co-hosted by the Ugandan government, the corporate world, and the Uganda Red Cross as partners to see how we can make a response, a difference. And through this, we are creating what we call the Red Cross, Uganda Red Cross Humanitarian Response Fund, which is to mobilize all of us to have a fund that we can always use to prepare, to respond, but also save lives and save property. Now, let me start by mentioning how are we going to manage this fund. We want to ensure that not only Red Cross, leadership, governance, and management are the ones managing the fund, but we have a team of people who are going to support us in managing this fund. So we have a team of independent trustees. I will introduce them in a minute, who have accepted to manage this fund. We will have a fund manager, and PricewaterhouseCoopers have accepted. We should be having a team from PricewaterhouseCoopers if they can stand up for recognition. Are they already here? Maybe they're on the way. So they will be the ones to manage the fund and account to the public. Now, those are the board of trustees of this fund. And allow me at this juncture to invite one of the trustees by the names of Dr. Peter Kimbowa, who opened this meeting, to come and introduce his colleagues on this board of trustees. PK, please.
Thank you very much, Secretary General, Honorable Minister. The members I'm going to introduce here are the members who are working with the Uganda Red Cross in terms of this work. The chair is Honorable Erika Ruhanga, who is the former chairman of NSSF. Then myself also, former chairman NSSF. Then there is Madam Grace Mulisa, who is the chief executive of EcoBank. We've got Judy Rugasira, who is the chief executive of Knight Frank, present here. I don't know whether I could start. Okay. I don't know where Grace Mulisa is. Then we've got Mr. Zhang Hao, but Zhang Hao is indisposed today, so probably not here, but he's got a representative present here, who is the chairperson of the Zhang's group of companies. We've got sorry? Okay, you're representing Zhang? Okay, nice to see you, ma'am. Do we have some other members? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, PK. So these are people who know the business, who are known to all of us, and people of integrity and high reputation. So they are the ones who are going to be managing this fund. So meaning that when this fund comes to one of the accounts, which we are again going to show you, the Red Cross will make an application to accessing the funds based on the parameters which we are going to share with you, the key priorities. And when they approve, then PwC, who are the fund managers, will release the funds and ensure that you're going to close accounts and also share the reports with the public. So, which are those core areas that can be supported? The core ones are 5, and I'll try to be very fast since we have been sharing them. The first aid and ambulance service, and I can say, without appearing to be boasting, that the ambulances that are professionally managed and are well equipped in this country, they are only Uganda Red Cross ambulances. We have blood donor recruitment. We have our partner here, Madam Dorothy Cheun, if you can stand up, the Director of Uganda Blood Transfusion Services, Minister of Health. We work with them in mobilizing blood for this country. Sustainability, climate action, and all these emergencies, most of them we see today, floods, landslides, bursting of riverbanks, even pandemics, you can tie them to climate change actions. And so the whole question of disaster preparedness and response, and we are launching this fund at a time when we are responding to big emergency. Engineer Hera Yonek, our minister, is here. He knows what is going on in Buramburi now, Bududa, where over 2,000 people are displaced, and still more than 100 are not accounted for, and already 20 are confirmed dead. And the time is ticking, we don't know why the others are still alive. And then pandemics and epidemic responses, whether COVID, whether Ebola, currently we have Mpox, and they're always there. There are those we call complementary focus areas. In every emergency or response, the question of sanitation and water is a must, and hygiene. So those accompany all these other the core areas. The most affected people in any emergency, they are the mothers and the girl child. And that's why intentionally we are also targeting the girl child, their vulnerabilities, their biological needs, on how they accompany all that we do. It has been mentioned we have over 500,000 volunteers. More or less every time you see the Red Cross jackets in action, these are volunteers, not necessarily staff. Staff, we have very few, less than 300. Now, the majority of these are youth, and interestingly women. I don't know why men are not very good at volunteering. The majority of these are youth and women, so we are calling the men to join. And so, this is from like 80% of these 500 volunteers. But the youth, especially, in as much as they are assisting the Red Cross, but also they have their own challenges on how they are managing the digital transformation, on their lifestyle, on providing for their livelihoods. And the question is around how can we also do something for them as they try to save life and serve humanity. And so, we are saying that this fund, this game changer, and we are going to have a panel of the next session, the panelists, they will tell us that money no longer comes from where you don't know. Mr. Kasiate was saying he thought Red Cross has money which will never run short of funds. So the story is there are no funds for us to do all this. They are meager, but we can collectively make sure these funds are there. And so, how do we ensure that all of us contribute this fund? And so we have 3 platforms or 3 ways on how you can contribute. We have the MTN profile, Momo account, we have Airtel, we have the bank account, which are stated there. We are launching this fund, but there are those who have given a seed contribution to making this fund take off. And I've listed them up there. And we thank Absa Bank, MTN, Marwana Group, Electricity Regulatory Authority so far, plus the insurance sector that has committed this year to buy 2 ambulances to scale up our ambulance services. So the fund, which we are launching, has already gained traction. And we thank all those who have already made this commitment. And so, like I said, all these resources which are going to be raised, they will support the preparedness or the reaction, but also the response. Now, just spend a minute. Preparedness saves more lives, as you know, but also preparedness is an investment. So, but when it goes wrong, then we are more than ready to make sure we minimize the impact on the lives lost, but also on the properties and livelihoods that are impacted on. Every year, we'll be sharing with you the budget of how much we need if we are to make a difference and save lives. And the budget for 2025 is what is on the screen. You can say, hey, this is a lot of money, but I don't know how much you can equate to a price of the life of a human being. So this is the ambition. This is the ambition. If we raise this money, we can make Uganda a safe place to live in. But if we don't, there will always be gaps. And so that is the ambition for 2025. And like I said, by the end of 2020, in the course of 2025, we'll keep updating you, but also by the end of the year, we'll come back and show you where we are, where we stand, and also give accountability. I thought I should mention this. Who are we as Red Cross? We are a special institution established by an act of parliament, and we are in the process of revising it, so parliamentarians who are here, we count on your support to make it up to date. We belong to a bigger family of the International Red Cross, which brings together 191 countries, and that is a big force in terms of resource mobilization, in terms of sustainability to an extent, but also in terms of mobilizing capacities that can respond massively if we can't manage as Uganda Red Cross alone. We have a network of the 51 branches with 500 volunteers whom I've already referred to. And so, that legal mandate, that global membership and capacity which we can harness, but also drawing on our local context that we have, we believe together with you we can make a difference, and indeed humanity needs all of us. I thank you.
Another round of applause for the Secretary General of the Uganda Red Cross Society, Mr. Kwesiga. Robert, thank you so much for that, and for, I believe, answering a number of questions that some people might have today as we look at the Humanitarian Response Fund. Context is so important. You mentioned that, I think this year alone, so far there have been 18 major disasters. So that is something to think about. And with climate change, we're seeing more and more happening all across the world, here in Uganda. And even away from that, there are so many areas of intervention that you can be a part of. A big appreciation again to all the companies that have already supported the Humanitarian Response Fund. And this is a call to every one of us. Again, we said it's not a me issue or you issue, our need together. Humanity needs you. So there are so many ways that you can be part, donate, volunteer, and of course, even give in kind, ladies and gentlemen. Another thing that you mentioned that was so important was transparency. So we now know we have a board of trustees for the Humanitarian Response Fund, PK. I introduced the members, and also that it will be managed by PricewaterhouseCoopers. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we would like you to think some more with a video on how to determine a partner of choice when it comes to saving lives.
Needed a partner to work with in as far as humanitarian response is concerned. I believe you're more than sold that it's none other than the Uganda Red Cross Society. Ain't you? And so, ladies and gentlemen, a few housekeeping rules. You've taken your time off your busy schedules to be with us this morning. It is only fair that we call it a Red Cross morning. We are going to stretch your patience. We're going to stretch your time. We are going to disrupt your programming. But believe you me, it is because the cause we are here for is greater than anything we are out to do in the cold outside this room. If there is an emergency at your workplace, if there is a fire at the headquarters of Knight Frank, if there is a flood at the Uganda Electoral Commission, worry not. Uganda Red Cross Society is out there. It will sort it. Just stay in here, relax, we'll coordinate whatever needs to be done. That said, let's move straight into the rest of our program. I have a very brief panel discussion, and I'm going to invite my panelists. It's an eminent panel of personalities gathered from every aspect of life, from the diplomatic and development partnership, from the business community, from industry leaders in investment, and of course, most importantly, government of Uganda. We can do all this, but if we have no hawk's eye view of government, all this will fall flat on its face. So ladies and gentlemen, you'll be kind and welcome with me the following personalities to the panel. In no particular order of importance, allow me to invite Mr. Bob Niwagaba. He's a senior economist and budget analyst from the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. Now you know that government is here, and the part of government that has pockets, deep pockets. Welcome with me. And Bob will be discussing government's approach to funding and supporting humanitarian initiatives in Uganda. Bob, sit anywhere you find no disaster. I have the pleasure to invite Bruno Rotivo. He's the head of office ECHO, which is the humanitarian part of the European Union delegation in Kampala. Bruno will be telling us the trends of humanitarian funding by development partners. Again, in the development partners space, the European Union has some deep pockets. Allow me, in a very special way, invite the First Lady on this panel, Sylvia Mulinge, CEO, MTN Uganda. Sylvia will be discussing with us in a few minutes making investing in humanitarian causes a component of sustainable development. Like someone said earlier on, corporate citizens are into the era of ESG, environmental, social, and governance. And here she is to epitomize that. Our panel this morning is balanced to the center. Another lady, welcome with me, Mrs. Shadia Nampomba, who's the General Manager, Lioshen Industrial Park in Kapeka. The new breed of deep investment in this part of the world. Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I will start by hearing from government. I think it's important that government comes first. Don't you agree? So we'll go straight to Bob from the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. Bob, and mine is not a very difficult question for you to answer, but it is just for you to give us assurances that indeed government is up to the task with regard to this business of humanitarian response. Now I'll ask you, Bob, can you kindly share with us some insights on government's approach to funding and supporting humanitarian funding in Uganda? Just for context's sake, every time you're asking for money from government, for whatever cause it is, whether it's a road, a hospital, education, or any other social service, the default answer usually is there's no money, or the budget is not yet available. But even when it is available, they say the release has not yet been made. But even when the release is almost made, they will say the loose minute has not been signed. But even when the loose minute has been signed, they say the click of the button to the central bank has not yet been made. Even when that is made, there is a delay between the central bank and your receiving bank. This morning we are asking, should those questions suffice when it comes to an issue of emergency response? Bob.
Thank you, MC. I want to introduce myself, protocol observed. I will not allude to what you're saying that we'd like to give you the funds, but in a nutshell, we always try to ensure that the key steps taken, safeguards, to ensure that your money, the taxes that you pay, are secure, not just spent anyhowly. So government takes this opportunity to thank Red Cross for the support given, always, and we promise to always collaborate with you. We've taken different approaches to ensure that we have certain funding. One of them is that we've done integration into the national planning So we've ensured that we have integration of humanitarian funding and needs to the national planning. That is the National Development Plan 3 that we're implementing now, and even the next one, NDP 4. We've also ensured that we do collaborative partnerships with NGOs, various NGOs, with also international organizations as well as UN agencies. We've also had a refugee response plan per district and at the national level, especially those that are highly affected like Buramburi. We've also made sure that we put budget allocations and emergency funds for disasters. For example, we have the contingency fund, which is 3% of the national budget every financial year, that is put aside to ensure that in case of any need, we can be able to access funds within the shortest possible time. We also ensure that we've done empowerment of local governments that are disaster prone, both financially and technical support, in a way that if in case there's any need, they can easily detect it and pass it to a report through the structures, the national level, and all the refugee hosting communities. We also ensure that we leverage on financing mechanisms that are international, such as the World Bank and the UNHCR, to get financing for refugees and disasters, especially for the districts that are prone, like Buramburi, the likes of Kasese, those hosting refugees like Isingiro and Changwali. But we cannot run all this ourselves. So as government, we said we've done that. Can we have more opportunities? We've ensured that we have a disaster and preparedness ministry under the Office of Prime Minister that is in charge, as well as the department that coordinates the disasters. So once anything has come up, it can be taken through the government structures, from local government to the MPs, to Parliament, and also to us as a government, and we coordinate and we cut emergency and we're able to fund it. We've further said that, well, can we partner with the Red Cross and we give them funding? We've given Red Cross on every financial year over 6 billion, with 1 billion for blood donor, recruitment and mobilization, and the remaining 5.02 billion every financial year for disaster preparedness and response. But all that is not enough. As government, we can never handle everything ourselves, like you've said. So the opportunities that we need to leverage on, that we need to take chance of, like innovative financing that has come, like climate change financing for disaster areas and refugee hosting communities. We also call upon the private sector to ensure that we also support, like Uganda Red Cross, that you can be able to respond to the disasters. So at this juncture, as government, we call upon you, say we've done what we've done, but would appreciate if you can as well contribute privately to the disasters and also give us a funding, support Red Cross, and we'll be able to respond to humanitarian needs of this nation anytime, any day it calls upon. I thank you.
I think, ladies and gentlemen, let's give this gentleman a resounding hand clap. I don't know whether I am the only optimist in this room, but at least he has showed and demonstrated that government is and continues to do something in this regard. 3% of the national budget into disaster preparedness and alleviation. Specific amount of money, 6 billion to the Uganda Red Cross Society every financial year. 1 billion of that going to a specific docket, which is blood donation. That is no mean consideration. They deserve a hand clap. At least they are doing something. But he also further goes on to say, what they provide as government remains a drop in the ocean. And he makes a clarion call for the private sector, for other individuals, development partners to follow suit. Now I'll turn to you, Bruno. Over the last 2 years, we've seen a reduction in funding across board from development partners. But we are saying you have your many reasons as to why you may reduce funding in as far as physical infrastructure is concerned. You may have your reasons as to why you can reduce funding in other interventions for social services and the like. But disaster preparedness and emergency response would certainly not love to see a reduction. But we are kind enough to want to understand from you, what are the current trends and what are the current considerations in your regiment of funding for especially relief services, disaster preparedness, and everything in between?
Thank you very much. Well, You're right. We are in a very competitive world. And when we're looking at the provision of humanitarian assistance, including what needs to be done to reinforce preparedness and response to natural disaster, there's no difference. I mean, when we look at the situation in the world, we can see that it's getting increasingly problematic. That our financial support, the humanitarian imperative, is something that we need to do and support, I would say, in a larger area in the world. It doesn't mean that we've decreased our support to Uganda and to the Red Cross. And this is something that is important to say. What's happening is that the funding, if the tendency might be to decrease globally, might be a lot more unpredictable. And this is something that I would say is equally problematic for humanitarian actors to manage. When you don't know how much money you're going to be getting one way over another, it's getting complicated to work on long-term actions like response or preparedness to respond to natural disaster. As ECHO, the Humanitarian Office of the European Commission, we thought that we would be unpredictable, but at the end we managed to be stable in our support. I'm not sure that next year that's going to continue. We're fighting. We are doing everything possible to try to maintain our level of support, but as a humanitarian actor, we might be in a similar situation as many other countries, where we might see our initial support decreasing. And the word initial is very important here. Why? Because if I look at what we've done in 24 in Uganda, in addition to what we call the Humanitarian Implementation Plan, which is our main financial instrument, we've allocated resources to respond to the Mpox outbreak. We've allocated through the draft, and I'll come to that later, the Disaster Response Emergency Fund to the IFRC and the Ugandan Red Cross financial support to respond to Toroko, a natural disaster, to respond in Kiliandongo with the arrival of Sudanese refugees. I know that a request is being processed now to respond to the situation in Bulambuli. So we're here, we are present. Now, when we look at what is in the making, when we look at what is likely to happen, first, we're going to remain committed to provide assistance. Level of support is unpredictable, very difficult to determine. So the initiative that is being made, this Humanitarian Response Fund, is something that we fully support. And that was a necessity. And I would like to congratulate the Ugandan Red Cross for this initiative, because they need that, and we need that in the long run. I can see that the number of areas that are being covered are very numerous. I mean, this is something that is being covered, that is covering all the areas of intervention of the Red Cross. But as ECHO, we're going to remain committed to continue our support. I would believe that in parallel to the setup of this fund, institutional support remains necessary. And we're going to accompany this creation in providing resources to the Red Cross to continue to respond to emergencies. So this is something that I wanted to say today. I mean, the challenges ahead are far too many to list them, and this is something that we're going to continue to do. Yeah. Stop here.
Thank you, Bruno. Now, from my experience working with the European Union, I can say he's given a very, very positive response. At least he's honest enough to tell you, yes, there may be some challenges across the world that are all picking from our kitty. But what's for sure is that we are here and we shall continue, even with the fluctuations, the little reductions, and everything in between. But it seems to also say that it's a dream that comes true when the Uganda Red Cross Society this morning launches the Humanitarian Response Fund, because then that's a bank to which they will make regular deposits, which then can be picked up when disaster strikes, as opposed to a time of disaster being a time for resource mobilization. A time of disaster now will be a time for action. That said, I'll now turn to you, Shadia. Shadia, as a representative of top investors in this country, people sometimes have the stereotype that investors are like Mayweather friends. They are with you in your country as investors when the weather is fine. When the weather turns winterish or disaster strikes, they pack what's left of their bags and run. Now we are asking, are you with us in thick or thin? How are you affected when disaster strikes, and what is it that you are doing to ensure that your businesses and investments do not crumble with a click of a finger when disaster prevails? Are you with us? Muli naffe.
Thank you very much. As investors, we are here to stay. We are going nowhere. A look at the business entity. The economy can't grow without us investors. So for the economy to be where it is, we investors have a big impact towards the growth of the economy. As investors, we are heavily impacted by humanitarian crisis. In this case, I'll look at the negative impacts of humanitarian crisis onto us as investors. One, we invest a lot of money into whatever we are doing in the country. So for example, a look at the recent COVID-19, the whole globe was at a lockdown. People lost lots and lots of money. Their business were at a shutdown. So if you're saying investors are here to invest their money and reap out the profit and run, that is really a negative hearsay. We make big losses whenever there are humanitarian crises. And for example, for those who had invested in the fishing industry during COVID-19, we saw the fish being swept away by water. There were lots and lots of flooding. We saw the food economy coming down. Eggs were, a tray of eggs was going for 3,000 shillings. Just imagine someone who had a big poultry farm and they had invested lots of money in their poultry farm, but a tray of eggs was going for just 3,000 shillings. So that is one of the negative impacts that we face as investors. We also lose confidence as investors. We look at instability in the country. For example, the wars that used to happen in the north. There was a lot of instability, and we hardly, as investors, would go ahead and invest our monies in the north. But as we speak now, we have Madam Amina, the one of Atiak Sugar. She's in Amul, confidently seated. So if humanitarian crises such as wars happen in the country, just know we can't go ahead and invest our money. There is always a shortage of labor. This can be seen when wars happen. People become refugees. Instead of giving the labor, it's now the economy to give, the government to give, to provide that need, because people are already vulnerable. They are looking for what to eat. So we can't go ahead and invest our money. However, we won't look at only the negative impacts that we as investors face. There are a number of good things that come with humanitarian crisis that we don't have to overlook. One of the issues that we have to consider is development of new business ideas. We all see where we are coming from after the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. A number of new business cropped up. Even the way we've been doing business, it's now e-commerce. I don't need to fly to China to go and do business in China. I just need to order online and I'll get my products. We all see now it's Zoom meetings that are being held. So we need to attribute that to humanitarian crisis. To me, that's a positive impact.
Thank you.
A call for action. What can be done? As investors, we think we need to support governments by promoting public-private partnerships. My brother from Ministry of Finance said they can't do this alone. True, as public partners, they can't do that alone. They need us, the private sector. So for humanitarian crisis to be solved, they need our arm as the private sector to be involved, and we collaborate together for business to take off. This can be done through corporate social responsibility. Us as Laotian Industrial Park, we've involved in a number of corporate social responsibility, and this is, to me, one action that can be taken on by both government and the private sector to move on. 2, we can also establish a crisis response fund. This is a tick to Uganda Red Cross. This fund is really needed to support humanitarian crisis. 3, we can also foster innovation and entrepreneurship. The world today is going away from the public perspective. We are now looking into the private perspective. That's where the money is. So if we don't assimilate ourselves and involve ourselves into entrepreneurship, whatever we are doing as investors or as business people, we have to look at value for money. So we have to look away from being given handouts and have a thinking, an entrepreneurial thinking of how we are going to raise money to support the humanitarian crisis that come on board. Thank you very much. I submit.
Thank you very much, Shadia. And I think she reassures us, doesn't she? Let's give her a hand clap. And now, you are one of the top 10 taxpayers in this country as MTN Uganda. Many like you in other places would say, since we are paying a colossal sum of money to the national coffers in taxes, governments, you can always use part of that to handle your emergencies or where they are. But we believe you are a more conscious corporate citizen than that. And that explains why MTN has a fully fledged foundation, to which I'm sure you're going to speak to. However, our question goes on to say, away from the stewardship of MTN in the industry, tell us broadly, from the corporate perspective, your insights on how corporates and other companies can make investing in humanitarian causes a component of sustainable development, a component of your company ethos, values, and the foundations on which you perform your business. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Let me start off on a light note. I don't think we are part of the top 10 taxpayers in the country. I think we are the largest taxpayer in the country, so just correcting your statistics. And that's important, and the reason why I start off from there is because then it just enumerates the huge responsibility I think as corporate organizations which are represented here today have in supporting the work that is being done today. So let me first of all start off by really applauding the Uganda Red Cross for setting this up. I was really struck by the video, the what if video that was played earlier. And it struck me on a couple of things. First of all, the work is not easy. You know, we can be seated here in a room. We are in an air-conditioned room. We are all warmly dressed up. We're not being rained on. We're all comfortably dressed, enjoying a fantastic breakfast. But there are people who every day are waking up to go and deal with the reality, and the realities that were actually showcased today. So I really want to start off by acknowledging the work the Red Cross does. You go to places where we cannot be able to go. You touch people's lives in ways that we cannot be able to touch. I can't imagine how it is to get to a scene, whether it's a road crash scene or a landslide. You know, last week, when we saw the escalating rains within the country, while we thank God for the rains, we know that sometimes they come with other unintended consequences like landslides and everything. So I'm always, you know, bracing myself, whispering a prayer, thinking about the teams, but also just the wider country and all the things that are happening. And the people who go where we cannot go, I think, deserve a round of applause. So let me first of all start by requesting that we give a big round of applause to that. I definitely agree with the theme that humanity needs you, that is being propagated today, and specifically to corporate organizations, humanity needs us. For me, my analogy or my logic is very simple. When I look at the videos that were being illustrated there, can you imagine how the world would be if we were building companies and building companies in areas where people had or were suffering to the level of degree that was actually being displayed? Can you imagine building companies, with the kind of statistics that are being shared? They're horrifying. 13 people dying in a road crash every day. See the impact of the level of human displacement that happens to those who are most vulnerable amongst us. Some who probably don't have anywhere else to move to. Look at the level of impact of the pandemic, and my fellow panelists have spoken about the impact of COVID and what it had on, even the basic price of commodities. And therefore, the reason why then it becomes important for corporate organizations to participate in this is because we can't build strong companies. And this is my call out to every corporate that is represented here. We cannot build strong companies. We cannot build sustainable companies if we are not investing in the societal outcomes of the societies that we're in. Because at the end of the day, the people that we saw up there on screen, whether they're giving blood, whether they're in a situation where they're being rescued, those are our customers, right? Those are the people that our businesses exist to serve, right? And if they're not healthy, if they're not educated, if they don't have shelter, if they don't have economic opportunity to be able to generate incomes, to be able to support themselves and generate the livelihoods that they want, we won't have customers in the long term. And that is the reason why we need to make humanitarian investment a core part of every business strategy in this organization and in this country. It would be, I think, for lack of a better word, it would be unwise for any organization to think that you can build yourself sustainably if you're not constantly investing in the society from where you're seeking to derive value. And the question that I want to ask, I ask myself this question, I ask my team this question, and I want to pose the same question to everyone who is represented here in the audience. Is the world benefiting from your presence here, or is your company part of the problems that the planet is facing? And that's a very honest question. Are we contributing to additions of more pandemics, to climate change because of lack of focus on driving the input drivers that are impacting climate change? Are we taking a responsibility on building sustainable societies? Are we taking a responsibility for building literacy, healthy communities? I think that is a mirror that each company needs to hold up to itself and ask, what is the role that we are playing in whatever small way? It doesn't even have to be large scale. It doesn't have to be something that you're doing countrywide. But even in the places where our factories are located, where our offices are located, in the communities that we are in, what is the role that we are playing in terms of ensuring that we drive better outcomes for everyone? So for me, the conversation that we're having today is a critical one. I feel that even at MTN, we are not doing enough, and that is why we're really, I think, greatly privileged to be part of this conversation. Right now, a percentage of our annual profits that we declare every year go to the MTN Foundation, and through the MTN Foundation, we use this as a vehicle that enables us to be able to partner with like-minded organizations such as the Uganda Red Cross in terms of driving some of the outcomes that we want to see. I think one of the things that we are also very clear about is we want to go far, but we believe for us to be able to go further, it's important that we leverage partnerships such as the ones that we're discussing today, to be able to create impact. And then I think the last point that I also want to call out is that it's while disaster will happen and we must be ready for the responses that we'll give when disaster occurs, I think the other thing that we need to ask ourselves is how are we building resilience, right? And how are we ensuring that we increase the level of preparedness? We know rains are coming. We know areas that are prone to landslides. How do we then actively work with organizations such as the Uganda Red Cross to make sure that when these events happen, first of all, we have safeguarded communities, we avoid loss of life because of this. I like the work that is being done around one of the projects that was shown here around water, around the girls, keeping a girl child in school, because it's more of a proactive rather than a reactive mentality. And therefore, there needs to be an equal balance in terms of how we invest in the proactive measures as well as the reactive measures. I think for us, you can count on MTN Uganda to continue to play our role and partner with organizations such as the Uganda Red Cross in terms of driving the agenda, because we believe that to be truly an unstoppable Uganda, these are the conversations that must be had. We must create a net positive impact on the world today, and it starts from conversations such as this. Thanks a lot.
But a percentage of your annual profits is earmarked to the MTN Foundation to support causes such as this. And you further reassure us that you want to go further, because even at MTN, you believe you're not doing enough. You further on say, beyond looking at reactive interventions, how about going into the area of building resilience and coming up with proactive measures that then serve to mitigate disaster when it strikes? At that time, none of us ever gets to know. I want to thank you. I also want to thank each one of you on the panel. My program indicates that I am not good enough to ask these panelists follow-up questions, that some of you could be wiser than myself and so could ask a question or two. And yet, I'm also pressed with the fact that time is not an ally. So I'm going to run a democratic process where I will be the Electoral Commission. Do you allow that I ask them one last question and they go back, or do you have one question, they answer it, any one of them, and they take their seats so that we can conclude our program this morning? Yes, ma'am. I asked the question, or you ask it? Thank you very much. Crystal, let's have the microphone over there so that she can ask that one question for any member of this panel, and then we resume our seats. The lady right next to you.
Thank you very much. I am Christine Kaya Nachimwero. I am Chiboga District Woman Member of Parliament. But I've been moving with Red Cross for quite a good number of years, especially in disaster management and climate change management. And to me, that is why I've cancelled the rest of the programs to be here as a witness. My question is that we have all seen that the Red Cross Act is outdated, I could say. 1964, before even the NRM came into power, to date, that we have not revised the provisions of that act. I just feel that we needed response from them on what should our revised act, the Red Cross Act, have. I would like to hear something from them. What do they propose for us? Because as members of Parliament here, even with Dr. Honorable Yalugaba and the team, we are ready to take part. But I would like to hear from them, what do they prefer us incorporate in the yet to be revised Red Cross Act, such that as we embark on the process, at least some of the ideas have come from here. Otherwise, thank you.
You heard. Prepare one last question, and then we guide on the responses.
Thank you so much. I stand? Well, thank you. I'm Biarugava Alex, a member of Parliament for Isinjiro South. but I'm also the chairperson for Presidential Affairs Committee in the Parliament of Uganda. I've been dealing with Red Cross for quite some time now, and I was one of the sponsors of this vision of the bill, the Red Cross bill. I sponsored it myself, and at the end of it all, at the tail end, it could not be assented to for unforeseen reasons. My question, actually, Honorable Nachimaro's question, I would have loved to go directly to the minister in charge. The panelists might not be able to give us an adequate answer, but the minister with whom I have been in Parliament for a long time honestly knows our passion in as far as Red Cross issues are concerned. I would like him, I'm sure he will get an opportunity to talk to us, to elaborate a little bit more about that. Secondly, Mr. Nwagaba, yeah, thank you very much for the money being referred to. But me and you know that the contingency fund, honestly, should specifically have been meant, meant for these responses. But is it exactly what happens, honestly, from the honest part of your body and soul? Is that exactly what happens? Because you and me know that's not exactly what happens. The minister sometimes has a problem, a huge problem, whereas we put a contingency fund in place, specific objectives. But when it comes to operationalization of that fund, I think the ministry has a huge question to answer. You have a huge responsibility and questions to be asked to you. And that's why we shouldn't actually maybe pounce upon you to demand serious answers. People down there are suffering.
Thank you.
Disasters happen every other day. You take a year to respond. What kind of response is that? Not because he doesn't want it, but because you deny him money. So, I'm sorry, Mr. Nwagaba, that's not the way it goes. Anyway, you have a chance to respond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Alex. Now, my friends on the panel, I know you hadn't prepared for this disaster of hard questions, and it is not really going to be in my place to put you in harm's way. So let's do it this way. The consultative engagements between the legislators and stakeholders such as yourselves and many others in this room need to take deep root in an environment that fosters a back and forth conversation. In a space such as this where we are running short of time and just had our breakfast, I believe that conversations such as this could suffice when we have bilateral engagements. So, Bruno, Shadia, Sylvie, and my friend from the Ministry of Finance, let's get a moment and have internally engaging stakeholder engagements with especially our legislators, because I also believe that at an industry level, you also have a few things that you may want to put to them. Time may not be allowing for now. Secondly, Honorable Byarugaba does ask a very tough question, but puts it to the Minister of Disaster Preparedness. He is prepared, and he will answer that question. As for the officer from the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Bob, he believes that he's better placed to answer such a question under oath. Now, Honorable Alex, you know I didn't come with my Bible here. I can't administer an oath. So I don't want the young man to call for emergency rescue from the revenue, from the Red Cross. But I will allow the final question from the chairperson of the Uganda Electoral Commission. For them, disaster awaits every 5 years. So it's important that he asks a question on whether indeed part of their election financing also puts in place ebigwa bitalaze.
No, thank you very much, moderator. I want to clarify that I'm not the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, but I'm a member of the commission. I'm a commissioner. But most relevant to this occasion, I'm the treasurer of Uganda Red Cross Society. Maybe I wanted to put my thinking like this. First of all, thank the presenters, the panelists who have put a very good presentation and also given us reassurance as Uganda Red Cross Society of their readiness to work with us and support us in the work of serving humanity. Come think about it. If there was a disaster, like where we stay and where we operate, and there were disasters, I don't know that you'd even have elections for that matter. So it is far encompassing. Let me also maybe recognize the Minister, the Honorable Nek, and thank him on behalf of our colleagues and the Red Cross fraternity for the support the Minister and the government continue to extend to us in the work we are doing. We are very grateful and we recognize you, Honorable Minister, for the support you've given us and your team. But having said that, the Minister of Finance, the representative from the Minister of Finance, the technical officer, told us that the government of Uganda gives Uganda Red Cross how much money? 6 billion, above 6 billion.
Yes.
In other words, less than 7 billion. So look at the enormous responsibility. What has been presented, the disasters that we operate in, water, gas, disaster, and whatever. And the government of Uganda commits 7 billion shillings for this type of work. Now, we've been thanking partners that work with us, because the work of Uganda Red Cross is by and large supported by partners, and we are very grateful to them, both local, MTN and others, and those from outside. But the societies, the partners that support Uganda Red Cross Society, they actually give us taxpayers' money from their respective countries. They give us money from their respective countries. So I think the government of Uganda should demonstrate more willingness to do the work, because the work Uganda Red Cross does it on behalf, it is the work supposed to otherwise have been done by the government of Uganda. And that brings me to what my brother, the Honorable Alex, was talking about. We are grateful to Parliament for having considered the private members' bill amendment, which is now outdated. Because I remember in the Act of 1963, the provision that there is I think there are two provisions to recognize the Red Cross Society as what do they call it? Auxiliary institution to government. That is what there is more in the bill. But what does that responsibility mean? It means we are partners with the government. Therefore, to entrench the responsibilities, the work of Uganda Red Cross Society can only be done once the Act is amended to include the responsibilities of the Act. Therefore, lastly, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Lastly, therefore, this makes it extremely urgent, Honorable Minister and Honorable colleagues. We thank you and we recognize your readiness to amend the law. It makes it very, very, very urgent that this work is done, because as we deal with the partners outside, as we deal with people who want to work with us, they also want to know our status, our mandate, and that mandate is within the law. I thank you so much, Moderator, for giving me time.
Thank you, Honorable Taib. Now, he introduced himself as the treasurer of the Uganda Red Cross Society. Partners, friends, we are here to mobilize funding to the Uganda Red Cross Society through the kitty that they have chosen to call Humanitarian Response Fund. So if we had a treasurer, because that's the person who's going to receive the money, of questionable moral turpitude, you agree with me, that would be disaster. Good enough, we have seen him, he has put a name to the face, so should disaster strike, which I know won't because he's a man of uprightness, that's the man that we'll point our fingers to. So Sylvie, the contributions we are making, that gentleman will be the one to hold it. But he also further goes on to not make a question to be answered, but he provides feedback, especially to the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, which, for your comfort, sir, the feedback has been taken, and that message shall be taken to the high and mighty at the ministry. So, that said, folks, let's give them a resounding hand clap as we welcome back our panel to their respective seats in the audience. Thank you very much. Bruno, Shadia, Sylvie, and Bob. Now, I will ask that the next speaker comes forward and makes their presentation. They are a good partner to us, and this is the representative from the China Embassy in Uganda. He's sharing experiences on new ways of humanitarian partnerships. Friends, again, I keep using the word disaster. I don't want to cause disaster for myself by attempting to pronounce his name. I will allow him to come forward because he knows himself, and then he can guide on how his name can be properly pronounced. The only way I can attempt, please come, I can attempt pronouncing his name is if he can pronounce the following words, sir. Disasters in our language are called ebigwa bitalaze. Your Excellency, I would be able to pronounce your name if only you can pronounce this word, ebigwa bitalaze. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, moderator. I think if you want to get fund, you should first pronounce my name. Learn to pronounce my name. I'm kidding. Thank you. I'm Ambassador of China. I've been here for 3 years and a half. Very good morning to ministers, honorable MPs, friends from Red Cross, excellencies from the embassies. I'm very pleased to be here to attend this launching of the Uganda Red Cross Humanitarian Response Fund. And it is very interesting to hearing the discussions just now. On this issue of humanitarian preparedness and response, the Chinese government has implemented several cooperative projects with the Uganda side in the past years. I just want to give you some introductions. In the area of health, since 1983, China has dispatched 24 batches of medical teams to Uganda with over 200 doctors. So our medical teams have been here for over 21 years. And in the past they have participated in the disaster preparedness operations whenever it happened in Uganda. In addition, the Chinese medical team have treated more than 150,000 local patients, performed over 400 operations, and rescued more than 600 critically ill patients, and conducted traditional acupuncture for over 40,000 people. And for the purpose of combating the tropical disease, under these initiatives, the humanitarian needs are also considered. For example, on the development cooperation, China will implement 1,000 small and beautiful livelihood projects in Africa, including Uganda. On the agriculture field, China will provide Africa with 1 billion RMB yuan in emergency food assistance. And on the people-to-people exchanges, China will focus on the vocational education cooperation plan and list youth and women as the key recipients of 60,000 training opportunities for people from Africa. So these are some areas that I would like to introduce to you. And I'm very happy to know that Chinese companies operating in Uganda have already established a partnership with the Red Cross of Uganda. And we always encourage Chinese enterprises to carry out the more corporate social responsibility in Uganda. And as a matter of fact, I think the awareness of this Red Cross, awareness of humanitarian needs is still needs to be enhanced among the Chinese enterprises. Yeah. Because every year, these enterprises, they put some fund for the social corporate responsibility programs. And if we can establish the strong links between these enterprises and the Red Cross, I believe there will be more fruitful outcomes from these corporations. With this, I want to thank you, Red Cross, for inviting me to be here and to share the information about the humanitarian responses, issues, challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Round of applause for the China ambassador to Uganda, His Excellency Zhang Linzong. I hope I said that all right. Thank you so much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to recognize the presence of the Minister for Local Government who has joined us, Honorable Raphael Magezi. You are very, very welcome. Thank you for being here. I'd also like to recognize some of our other special guests who have joined us. We have heard about PricewaterhouseCoopers managing this fund that we're here to launch today. So Mr. Kalemba Dosen, please stand for recognition if you are in the room with us. Oh, you're right there. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'd like to also recognize the patron of the Uganda Red Cross Society, Mrs. Rugunda Jocelyn, who's here with us. Thank you. The chairman of the Central Governing Board for Uganda Red Cross Society, Dr. Khalid Halid, as well. Yes. The Honorable Treasurer for the Central Governing Board as well. Ladies and gentlemen, the National Legal Advisor for the Central Governing Board, Uganda Red Cross Society, Council Luganda Alex, who's here. I would also like to recognize Joel Tumwebaze from the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, who is here. Hi, Joel. There you are at the back of the room. Thank you. And members of the Uganda Insurers Association who are here with us today. Thank you so much for being with us. From the International Federation of Red Cross, the Deputy Regional Director for Africa, that's Pierre Cremer as well, here with us. Thank you for being here. As well as the Deputy Regional Director for Africa, that is Daniel Paulette Breton as well. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for our patience. I don't know if any of you were informed that we were live on NTV. So if someone's like, I saw you today, I saw you on TV, I'm reporting us here now. We were live on NTV. It is now my great pleasure, all protocol observed, to invite the Minister for Relief, Disaster Preparedness and Refugees, Honorable Hilary Onek to make his remarks. You're most welcome. Please join us now, and he will also, I'm humbly asking that he will invite the Minister for Local Government later to also make the keynote address and officially launch our Humanitarian Response Fund. Big round of applause right now. You're most welcome, Honorable Hilary Onek.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. My colleague, Minister for Local Government, Honorable Magezi, other colleagues who are here, I've seen a number of members of Parliament, and many I think has left, and all dignitaries, different capacities, Your Excellencies, the ambassadors who are here, all level of guests, different designations who are present here. I must say, protocol observed, because really, I'm not a diplomat. I don't know how to line them up. But I appreciate that we are all here for the common cause, that we are addressing or attending or celebrating an occasion related to humanity. And that's what all our preoccupation is about, humanity. Before I give my small speech, I wanted just to correct some little mistakes, particularly from impression given by submission of those in the panel here, who are here, the panel representative from finance, there's representative from donors and so on. I want to clarify clearly the actual situation on the ground. One, in government budget, in our budget, national budget, 3% is designated for disaster. But of the 3%, only 15% goes towards our operations as disaster department in the ministry, as a ministry under the Prime Minister's office. So that means actually the percentage we get is 0.45% of that is what we get, what we are supposed to get for disasters. That's what it is on the ground. Number two, we don't even have a budget for disaster. We have clear disaster demands and programs which has never been itemized under a disaster budget. And we have pleaded with Parliament, have even pleaded at cabinet level to see that at least we should have a budget, something called a budget, so that we can plan our operations in the country, because we know what happens. We know the causes of disasters. We've gone ahead and mapped out disasters. We've even produced disaster maps, hazard maps, which clearly spots out areas where disasters occur in the country. All, we have it documented, digitized, it is all there. Recently, we have been trying to say, okay, why don't we now simulate this, do artificial kind of intelligence, involvement of artificial intelligence method, to now work out how we can accurately predict disasters. Given that we have already digitized our country, we mapped it out, we know what disasters can happen. During heavy rainfall, what disasters can happen. During drought, what disasters are likely to happen. We have all those in our database. Now we need it now to actualize this, simulate it against the occurrence of rainfall. If we get El Nino rain, then we know, and we predict the amount of rain, we know what could happen, like flash flood. Kasese Hills, a lot of rocks will roll down, and a lot of water will gush, sweep the people down who are on the hill, and some of them die because of that. Floods happen in Toroko. Right now, population are living on water. All those are available, digitized information available. Elgon, Bududa particularly, and all those areas, Namisindwa, go to Bulambuli, go to all those areas around Mount Elgon. There are all those disasters happening of landslides because of the population has increased, they occupied the mountains, they've done deforestation, and now the rain, heavy rain which comes, the water is not contained by the vegetation which used to be there. The vegetation has been removed, replaced with bananas, which doesn't have deep roots to hold the soil when it rains. And the soil now is open, and then automatically when the rain falls, then it weakens the whole system. Landslides occurs. It used not to occur like that before when there were forests and so forth. So these are the challenges which are there, which could have been solved. But again, I zero on the budget. We don't have really a budget. And we think, honorable colleague, who know our predicament well, if we can insist that there should be a budget so that the planning can have meaning. Because you cannot plan without a budget. So that is a challenge we have. Number two, there has been tremendous drop of global support, money, international support towards our humanitarian agencies' support has tremendously dropped really to a level which is perhaps previously, if you go back about 5 years back, today what our country agencies working in our countries get, including UNHCR and so forth, is only about 20% of what they used to get 5 years ago, when the calamities were less, when there were even less refugees. Today there are more refugees, there are more calamities, the environment has become more, vicious, and a lot of this, and the resources have dwindled. This should have been answered clearly what Bruno, but he was closing around. He didn't want to annoy his appointing authorities. So, I mean, this is the situation, the actual situation on the ground. I think I'm not going to labor on that. We have elaborate program on disasters. Early warning systems, we have tried in theory, but it's all manual system of information, but which cannot work. We have prepared, we have got in plan, disaster risk management plan, comprehensive disaster risk management plan for the country, which needed funding, and we need about $234 million equivalent to equip and also enhance all those early warning systems and response capabilities. It is not funded because of lack of funding. So really, that's something I wanted to call donors to come and support us, because our own budget as a government is a bit lean. We have challenges with our budget. We cannot raise that amount of funding to meet those challenges of having in place a disaster risk management plan, which the MTN chief executive raised, that why don't we have early warning? Yes, we have prepared, it is all there in prepared, but then it must be actualized. Finally, let me give my small speech. I'm sorry for laboring on this, because there was a lot of misinformation here, which I thought I should correct. A lot of misinformation. It's better we deal with facts. Briefly, I really want to thank the Red Cross. I want to thank them. They have really been our real partners. They have been our partners in addressing the humanity. It gives me great pleasure to be part of this celebration of 60 years of Uganda Red Cross Society serving humanity in Uganda. Government of Uganda can't work in isolation in addressing humanitarian challenges. There is need for multi-sectoral involvement to strengthen, sustain the level of preparedness, response and mitigation. That's why we applaud the Uganda Red Cross Society. For the 60 years they have been serving and continue to serve humanity in Uganda, and also thank the Red Cross world in general. Uganda Red Cross Society performs an auxiliary supporting role to the government of Uganda and remains a partner of choice in serving lives, building resilient communities, promoting human dignity through delivering timely, quality, and sustainable humanitarian assistance. It is important to note that humanitarian crises are on the rise globally and locally. This is clear because already it is globally seen. Even in those countries around the world, you find hurricanes, increasing hurricanes, destroying and so on. I mean, the environment has changed, and therefore climatic change is causing devastation globally. The prudent way would be really, how can we not, all governments all over the world should address global change, make it an agenda to restore the environment and ensure that again there is some equilibrium in ecosystems. In Uganda, we experience a cross-section of eventualities, such as threats to causing threat to humankind and animals, and the environment, such as climate change related, such as you have seen, if you have been following in the news, what is happening, landslides and so all that, and therefore killing people, and we are losing lives and so forth. Climate change related natural disasters, including flood, landslide, mudslide, these days even garbage slides, food insecurity and drought, among others. Numerous health-related pandemics and epidemics such as COVID-19, Ebola, among others. These are all because even the microorganisms, they keep mutating. They try to adapt to exist in a changing climate. And as they mutate in the changing climate, they become now not resistant. They become now resistant to medicines, and like COVID-19 and so forth. These are diseases which have been, germs which are mutating, trying to adapt to cope with life. Whereas human beings are not that reflexible. We need also, we are also to be resilient. That is in their resilience, in the resilience of those mechanisms. They mutate and change and so on. And therefore causing now new phenomena of diseases and challenges, epidemics. There are also, as a result of all this, sometimes massive starvation in places, hunger and death. Sometimes we also get climate refugees. climate refugees. Refugees who run away because now climatic conditions have devastated and destroyed their situation. They can no longer produce any food, they can no longer do anything useful. Or they have to find other places to run away from where they are and so forth. So with such disasters and emergencies, there is need for collective support. Hence, the Uganda Red Cross Humanitarian Response Fund has come at the right time. Particularly donors must realize that actually this climatic change is not our creation. We are still in our own primitive stage where we cannot change the climate. Our activities could not change the climate. It is the industrial world that destroyed our climate, and that's why they needed to really come to support the causes of this environmental change in our places. Talking about the RESP road, this initiative aligns with the RESPOT funds. The initiatives align with our auxiliary role, with the auxiliary role of Uganda Red Cross Society by enhancing its support for national emergency response framework and reinforcing collaboration efforts to strengthen the public and government capacity in disaster preparedness response and resilience building. Uganda Red Cross Society facing the kind of disasters that occur in our sub-region here may need more equipped. They may need more equipment to handle situations of disaster, the kind of disasters which have happened here in Uganda, like these landslides and whatnot. Perhaps they will need now to be mechanically equipped as well to respond and on time and do some rescue operations on flooded areas and so forth in places where custom people are drowning and so forth. Other than just other than their current level, they need to raise up a little bit to that. So this fund, I believe, will help to equip them to do slightly more than that. The fund aims to mobilize resources from international public and private sector organizations as well as the Ugandan public to ensure coordinated and sustainable approach to humanitarian action. Let's join hands, the publics, the civil society, private partners, and supporters in this noble cause. Let's all join hands, even government to some extent, from our small subvention that we get from Ministry of Finance. We also contribute annually something to the Red Cross. We want all the organizations who are here, the agencies, let's make serious contribution to the Red Cross Society so that they are more enabled to do more than they are currently doing. So I want to really thank you for listening to me. I'm speaking with passion because really I'm affected. I've been in this ministry for 11 years. Now, when I've been pushing, I'm not moving far distance. I feel disorganized, I feel upset. Because in my career, when I worked as an engineer, I saw results, I saw a lot of results behind me. But in this one, I'm not seeing serious results. And that one annoys me. That one annoys me. That's why I talked with a really serious passion. Sorry about my response. Well, I'll summarize, I've finished my points. I would like to take this opportunity to really, I'm delighted my colleague Honorable Magezi has come in on board to join us. And this time he has come at a higher capacity. He has come to represent my boss, the Prime Minister, and Honorable Rafael Magezi, my colleague and very close friend in Cabinet. I'm really delighted that of your choice for having come here to represent our Prime Minister. I'm inviting you therefore, sir, to come and represent the Prime Minister and give you a speech. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable colleague, Honorable Minister in charge of disaster preparedness, relief and refugees, the Honorable Hilary Onek, colleagues, honorable members of parliament who are here present and those who have been here, Your Excellencies, ambassadors, heads of missions present, the chairman and members of the Central Governing Board of the Uganda Red Cross Society,